For more on this story, we can bring in our international affairs editor, Philip Turle. Philip, good to see you. Now, Joe Biden says he wants a path to a ceasefire. He's not really saying the word out loud. Is the U.S. president increasingly frustrated with this conflict, or is he simply buying time?
I think he's becoming increasingly frustrated by the conflict, and the pressure is being stacked on him to intervene, to find some kind of way out. You have to remember that Joe Biden didn't really want to get involved in any Middle Eastern politics when he was elected. What he's interested in is dealing with China, dealing with global warming, climate change, and also interested in formulating the Iranian nuclear agreement, or getting that back on the cards. He didn't want to get involved in clashes between the Israelis and the Palestinians, so he's being forced into it. Now he's under pressure from within his own Democratic Party, from the left wing, saying enough is enough, this has got to end. He's also coming under pressure from many international sources, notably, as you were saying, from France, which has tabled a resolution that it wants to push through the UN Security Council. It can't do that because the US is saying no. The US is saying no because it supports Israel, but there is growing pressure on the US to not support Israel so much. So that explains why there is this telephone call to Benjamin Netanyahu saying we need some de-escalation and we need it now. It's a bit like, if you could compare it to something, a headmaster in a school talking to a pupil saying you have got to take the necessary measures to change the situation. I think that is what the US president is trying to achieve by this.
So with mixed messages coming from both Israel and Hamas, what are the levers which could be used to, and on both sides, rather, to end the conflict?
Okay, first on those mixed messages, you have Benjamin Netanyahu saying, well, we haven't got a stopwatch, we're going to carry on. And Hamas, which is also saying, well, there probably is going to be a ceasefire within the next couple of days, but not saying we want a ceasefire right now. I think that Hamas would like that. So there are levers. First one is the United States, we've just been talking about. Second one is Egypt. Egypt has put forward the idea for today, for example, of a ceasefire from 6 o'clock this morning. That was not ratified by the Israeli Parliament. Egypt has strong relations with Israel. There have been meetings between Al-Sisi, the Egyptian president, and the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, many of them. Egypt also has good relations with Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority. So there are strong relations between the two sides. So Egypt does have a lot of sway when it comes to talking to both sides to try to bring them to the negotiating table. There, where they don't have much influence, is with Hamas, because Egypt doesn't support Hamas because of its allegiance to the Muslim Brotherhood. There is another lever, and that is Qatar. Now, Qatar is the main financier of Hamas, and therefore Qatar could say to Hamas, well, look, if you don't come to the negotiating table, if you don't bring a ceasefire in, then we're going to cut off your financial aid. Just a figure for you I have here, $360 million Qatar has said it's going to hand over to Hamas this year. So that is a leverage, if you like, towards Hamas that can put the pressure up. Now, there is something else here which is also quite interesting, and many people have been saying, well, why is there an increase in the fighting over the last few hours when it appears that there is going to be a ceasefire within the next couple of days or so? And I think the reason for that, Delano, is because both sides want to come out of this in a strong position. Israel wants to destroy Hamas as much as it can, and also it wants to protect Israel for years to come. Therefore, it doesn't want to let up at the last minute and let Hamas have the last word. Hamas wants to keep on as its protector role of the Palestinian people and to keep its position as a strong force, and therefore wants to continue in its fight. And of course, they're going to have to come to some kind of an agreement, and that agreement, I think, due to the pressure from the US and on the international community, is going to be pretty soon.
We'll see when that happens. Philip, thank you very much for that. Philip Turle there.